In this video, I'm going to show you how to remove and replace a left front brake hose on an Acadia, located in the rear wheel. 22mm socket, and we'll remove the tire. First thing I like to do whenever I do brake lines or flex hoses is I compress the brake pedal with like a hood prop rod or a stick, but you want the pedal all the way down and held there. So I wedge it in the seat and the pedal. That stops the fluid from pouring out of the master cylinder. You're still going to lose fluid, so make sure you have a catch basin. Now our nut on our steel line going into that flex hose is a 13mm. I'm going to use a flare wrench and I'm going to break it free. And see, that was the initial pedal being pushed down. But after that, it should be a minimal amount coming out. There we go. Now to remove that brake line clip, I just use a small pry bar or a screwdriver. You can use a pair of pliers, whatever works. It's just a spring type, so it wedges itself in there. We're going to reuse that, so keep it. I'm going to pull the line out, and I'll let it drain down in my bucket. So now we're going to follow that flex hose right to the caliper, and we're going to take that banjo bolt out. And that's an 11mm socket or wrench. Break it free. And you're going to get fluid coming out of that caliper. That's why the catch basin's there, and that push rod on that brake pedal's worked pretty good. Nothing's coming out of that line. I'm losing minimal fluid, and that's pretty good. So I took the banjo bolt and the old flex hose, I put it in a vise, because this design, the factory, the copper washers are a triangle, so they lock themselves on there. So you have to peel it off. You don't ever want to hammer on a banjo bolt because they're hollow inside and they're soft metal. You can actually damage them. So with a screwdriver and a pair of cutters, I'm just working it back and forth until I can work itself up. And then I'm going to grab it and peel it without trying to damage the threads. There we go. Discard that, take that hose off, and now we got to take one more washer off. There we go. We'll examine our banjo bolt, make sure it's clean. There's no stripped threads. I'll just wipe it down, and we're ready to install it. So here we have the banjo bolt, and one new washer goes on the base of the actual bolt. There we go. And then we're going to put the flex hose on and the bolt through like that. And the other washer is going to go against the hose and the caliper, just like that. And if you remember the bend for this caliper flex hose, it goes with the bend towards the front of the vehicle. And then we have this little line-up pin. It's going to go just like this. And then start it by hand. Snug it down. I'm not going to tighten it yet because I want to make sure I have a little bit of movement in case I need it. We're going to put this part in that bracket, and you'll see that there's a flat side. There's several little hectagon and then a half moon. So we'll match it up to this. So if you look at the pattern on it, the bolt pattern goes towards the vehicle. So bring that up. Just spin it around so you feel it lock in. Just going to be right there, just like that. And I'm going to, before I put that clamp on, I'm going to hand start my steel line. Because I want to be able to move this like that to seat it. And just rock it back and forth. Perfect. Now we can put that spring clamp in. Okay, installation was with that clip piece up like that. Just take a little hammer and tap it in. just like that, nice and firm. And now we can take our 13mm wrench and snug that up. And the reason why you want to do it by hand is to make sure it's started right. If you think you cross-threaded, you'll see it be at an angle, plus you'll never be able to do this easily. It'll take a lot of effort. So now I'm going to take my 13 flare so I can get it really nice and tight here without rounding it off. Put it on, and I like to just take a quick shove like that. Sometimes a slow turn when it comes to a steel line, you twist it. So a quick jerk, and you know it's nice and snug, ready to go. I'm going to clean that before I tighten up the caliper. Move my catch basin. Let's get rid of that dirt and brake fluid so it'll dry by the time we bleed the brakes. The key to tightening a flex hose banjo bolt in a caliper, because we have to crush those washers, is that we want to bottom it out and then give it a good twist, just like that. There's no torque. We want those copper washers to seat and make a good seal. Don't over tighten because this bolt is hollow. So we want to make sure it's snug, and then a good quarter turn. So before I open the bleeder screw to gravity bleed it, I'm going to go take the rod that I have pushed on that brake pedal and take it off so it's not depressed anymore. So now we're going to take our little protective boot off. I just take a screwdriver, see if you can peel it up. I'm going to reuse it, so make sure you don't damage it. There we go. Before I open this, I pumped up the brakes so I could fill that line and the caliper back up with any fluid that got out, and it pushes the air right to that bleeder. So now I'm going to open the bleeder screw with a 10mm wrench, and I'm going to gravity bleed it. So after a couple minutes, I have a steady stream. A couple air bubbles came out in the beginning. I'm just going to let it go for like 2 or 3 minutes to confirm all the air is pushed out. So now I'm going to close it, clean it up, top my master off. Then I'm going to step on the brake pedal and see how the brake pedal feels. Let's clean the area. Put our protective boot back on. Now I'll check the master, and then I'll put the brake pedal down and hold it firmly. And if my pedal doesn't travel at all, I'm good to go, and I'm going to road test it. If it is not, I'm going to do a brake bleed procedure on all wheels. So before I take the cover off the master cylinder, I like to clean it and get any dust and residue. Make sure that you don't cross-contaminate. Let that dry. I'll get a rag and wipe it down. Now we can take the cover off, and I'm going to look at it and see what kind of brake fluid this takes. If you don't see it on the cover, you could always check your manual. This says .3. So now I'm going to take my siphoner and I'm going to take out the old fluid as much as I can. So now I'm going to fill the master with .3 brake fluid. It's okay if you go past the fill line. Okay, and replace the cover. Now the brake bleed procedure on this specific car is right rear wheel is number 1, then 2 is left rear, 3 is right front, and 4 is the driver's front, right by the master. So we're going to start right now in the right rear. I'm going to take the cover off the bleeder screw. Set it aside, 10mm wrench or socket. Let's see if it breaks free. Perfect. Close it up. And now with a secondary person in the car, we're going to have them pump the brakes. They'll pump about 2 or 3 times and they'll hold it. Then we'll, in the catch basin, we're going to catch the brake fluid and let it come right out. Pump it up. Make sure you have that bleeder screw closed before they pump up the brakes. And they're going to hold that pedal all the way to the floor until I tell them to lift the pedal up. Pump it up. That's good. Now I'm going to clean the area. Put my dust cover back on. And you're going to go to the left rear now and do the same procedure. Now I'm going to top off the master cylinder. Get it right to that full line and replace the cover. So now we just bled the right rear, left rear. Now we're at the right front. We're going to take that boot right off of this bleeder screw. Some go easier than others. There we go. And got our catch basin, 10mm wrench, person in the car. I'm just going to break this free first before I have them do anything. Okay, pump it up. They're holding it. Open that bleeder screw. Close it. Pump it up. Anytime you see air, you want to do at least 2 more times after the air appears to make sure you have no more. Pump it up. Okay, now we're going to clean it. Put our boot back on. And last brake is the left front, and we're moving over there. Now we just did our last wheel, which is the left front, and we're at the master again. We're going to take that cover off. If the boot looks like that, that means that the vacuum is working. It pulled that cap cover down, the seal, place it back so it looks like that, and we'll top the fluid off. We're going to go right to that fill line. So now that I'm done bleeding the brakes and the master's full, I'm going to go pump the brakes up. If I'm happy with the brake pedal and it feels firm, I'm going to put the wheels on, torque them at 140. If I feel the brake pedal's squishy, I'm going to go through the procedure again. Reinstall the wheel. Put your lug nuts on by hand. And just center the wheel. Just make sure you start them all, don't cross thread. Now with that 22mm socket, I'm going to just snug them up in a star pattern. Wheel torque for this car is 140 foot-pounds, and you're always going to do it in a crisscross or star pattern. Double check. When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.